Welcome to the InSession Film Podcast for May 4th, 2014. This is episode 63, and I'm JD Duran.
And I'm Blake Bertuzit.
And I'm Eric Hillis.
And this week on the show, Eric, thanks for being here. You have a pretty fun website, and you guys put out a lot of awesome content. Tell us a little bit about it and where people can find it.
Yeah, it's called the Movie Waffler, and you can find it at themoviewaffler.com. That's Waffler with a W, as in the tasty breakfast. But in this part of the world, to waffle means to talk at length.
Sure.
So to movie waffle kind of means to ramble on about movies, which is what we basically do on the site.
Yeah, you guys put out a lot of stuff, and you guys put out a lot of great reviews, which is pretty awesome. In fact, it really makes me envious a lot of times because you guys are seeing so many new films and seeing them early, and it's great stuff.
Yeah, well, I am. I'm lucky enough to get invited to all the press screenings, so
sure.
I get to see stuff a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of months ahead of the public.
Yeah, I know. And your Spider-Man 2 review actually was one of the first that I read, quite honestly. So I was hoping for some better things, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. But before we get into The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is something which will be our main review, and then we're going to be discussing our top 3 comic book movie villains going off of that. And in our third segment, we're going to do a May preview. So last week on the show, we kind of did an overall general summer preview. And this week, we're going to be discussing May, which should be a pretty big month that I'm really looking forward to. But before we get into all of that, fellas, how was your guys' week?
Yeah, pretty good. Saw a bunch of movies, and then for the weekend, I've just kind of been chilling out, watching some football or soccer. It's getting to the end of the soccer season, so things are pretty exciting at the moment.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff. Any specific team you like to root for?
Well, I root for a team called Spurs, and they're pretty bad, so they've kind of had nothing to play for the past couple of months.
Nice. Oh, that always makes things interesting. And being a Detroit Lions fan, I know what that feels like. So, what about you, Blake? How was your week?
Oh, good and bad in the both. Like I was mentioned it before. Finally went back to work this week after a couple of months off for medical problems, and it feels good to be back at it. To an extent, but then at the same time, like I said, it's a physical struggle more than you would think about. So everything hurts.
Sure.
But otherwise, I'm happy to be moving around again anyway, so it's not bad. It's just going to be a process. But otherwise, fairly good for the most part. So just trying to, get back into the swing of things. Very fun, very fun. My week was probably the busiest I've had out of the last several, and I feel like I say that every week, but this week was for sure very busy because this was like the last week of our final preparations for the wedding that's happening in 3 weeks, which is kind of crazy to me that's finally coming to a reality. So man, this last weekend was just kind of crazy and all over the place, and watching a lot of films like Eric as well. So a lot of fun stuff going on though, but I'm ready for May 24th to get here. So very good stuff. We got a really good show in store, so let's get into it.
And here we go.
You're listening to the InSession Film Podcast. This is episode 63. I can feel it in the walls. I feel it in my veins. No matter what you do, Blake, you can't contain me.
Whoa. Let's calm it down there, Sparkles.
How are you?
I don't know what's going on with me.
I can see that. I believe you.
Strange. I feel like I got so much anger.
I can see that. I can see you don't want to be here. I can see you're scared. I can see you don't know what's happening to you. I can see that you don't want to hurt anybody. It's going to be all right.
Got a clear shot. Standing by.
I don't want them shooting
I'm
me.
not going to shoot you. You guys, this is my buddy Max. I told you about Max. No one shoots at Max. You and me, okay? It's just you and me talking. Whoa. Stay right there. Stay right there. Just be careful. The breakers, the electricity.
I just wanted everyone to see me.
He makes a move, you take that shot.
How about you come with me?
Okay.
Go somewhere we'll talk. Away from all these people, okay?
Yeah, if...
All right, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is directed by Mark Webb and stars Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Jamie Foxx, and a whole slew of other people as well. So, guys, there's a lot going on here. I feel like this is very different than the first one, at least for me. But before we get into that, I'll toss it to you guys first. What did you guys think about The Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Well, I was one of the few people that enjoyed Mark Webb's first film. That generally seemed to get kind of bashed by critics.
Sure.
But I actually, I didn't think it was perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But I liked what they were setting up. Basically, I didn't expect a whole lot from this one, just because they were trying to incorporate so many storylines.
Sure.
And there was a lot of bad press coming out from the set, about actors pulling out, getting fired, storylines changing mid-shoot and stuff.
Sure.
So I kind of thought this was going to be a disaster, and the early trailers didn't do anything to change my opinion on that.
Sure.
So I was really pleasantly surprised when I saw it.
I kind of feel pretty similarly to that, except for the fact that the trailers actually did kind of get me pumped up for it for a while. I was really looking forward to it for a long time. And then, I started seeing a lot of bad press about it and reviews, with specific gripes. And the thing is that when I actually saw it, I have, a reply to all those gripes that where it made sense to me. I actually came out of it liking it a whole lot. Kind of the same way that you said there before. I was a fan. I liked the first film that he did. It wasn't, perfect again by any means there. The way they did some things in it. I kind of didn't like the way they started out, with some of the casting choices in it, some of the characters and the story they told. But what I like is that it seems that Sony has this plan for way down the road. And, they're doing certain steps to get to that point. And I kind of felt like that was where this movie fit into things here. It wasn't the perfect storyline. Some of the things that took place needed to take place on screen, I feel like. But I was very pleasantly surprised. So that's always a bonus. I was really expecting to be let down, and I really came away from it, really enjoying it. And that's what I've told a lot of people so far as well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys, and I guess I'll make it 3 for 3 in the sense that I did enjoy the first one. It wasn't something that I loved, but I liked it. I certainly didn't hate it. But much like what you were saying, Eric, coming into this film, I did not have high hopes for this at all. A lot of the news surrounding this wasn't good, as you mentioned. I didn't really care for much of the trailers. I didn't care that they kept adding characters and adding characters. So when all of that kind of was coming at us all day long, every day leading up to this film, I was really approaching this at an arm's length. I was not really excited for it really at all. And coming out of it, much like you guys, I was hugely, hugely surprised in such a fun way. And I ended up really liking this movie quite a lot, actually. Even though it definitely has its flaws, it has its story issues for sure. You definitely feel the overstuffedness of having all these characters and subplots in there for sure. But I feel like when the movie is strong, I feel like it's pretty potent in a lot of places. And I was able to really grasp onto that. Let's talk about Electro, because Electro is, I guess, considered by a lot the main villain, although you could probably argue Harry Osborn as well. But I really liked Electro a lot. I really liked the characterization that we get. I do feel like we don't get enough because they kind of overstuffed this film with other characters and stuff. But what we do see, I really liked what they did with Electro. I love the aesthetic. I love that Jamie Foxx is pretty unrecognizable through a lot of this. I thought the fight scenes were amazing and the CGI was real great. Do you guys agree with that? Did you guys like Electro as well?
Yeah, I thought visually that looked fantastic. That whole Times Square sequence,
sure,
that just looked incredible. That was one of the best visually things I've seen in a big blockbuster for a while. To be honest, when the character first came introduced, when you see like Jamie Foxx walking through New York,
sure,
I kind of got a Richard Pryor Superman 3 kind of buzz, and I was thinking, oh no, this is going to be terrible. but thankfully it didn't go down that route.
Sure. For the entire version of our podcast, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or on Stitcher, or check us out online at InSessionFilm.com.